everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I'm your host, Ali Melniki, accompanied by my favorite coworker, Robert Kowalski. How are you doing today, Robert?
Ali, I'm doing excellent. Thanks so much for having a really special episode. It's the boomerang that keeps on coming back, this NFL.
It is, and I know we could talk all we would want about the NBA. There's some interesting series going on now. Who would have thought that the Bucks would be down 3-1? Looks like the Hawks proved us wrong. They won 2 straight against the Celtics. You also got the Grizzlies and the Lakers are having a very fun series, as are the Kings and Warriors tied at 2. But we will take a break because I'm sure there's still going to be plenty to talk about next week for the NBA. And we do have a very special NFL draft coming up. And Robert, I don't know if in recent years, I think you would probably have to go back to the draft where you had all those quarterbacks that went in the top 10 with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. You had Lamar Jackson later on in the draft, I believe that was that year. But I can't remember a time where there was so much chaos happening of who was going. Well, I should mention which quarterbacks are going in the first round. Can you remember a time other than that other year?
No, definitely not. And you just nailed it. I am salivating this, and someone that I've been saying it time and time again in this podcast. I am addicted to chaos, and I'm getting all of it right now.
We'll get into Aaron Rodgers later. That will come. But let's center on the draft first, and obviously we'll start with some betting trends. Right now, Robert, betting wise, who is the consensus favorite to go number 1? We all know it's Bryce Young. I will say that. But what are Young's odds, and what are some other odds that might be a sleeper value to pick just in case the Panthers have something tricky up their sleeve?
Right. So there's just so much ridiculousness happening right now. Correct.
Just go to Reddit.
Thank you. And it's actually having real-time market value changes right now. Bryce Young, this time yesterday, we had him minus 2,000 to be the number 1 overall pick. And then everyone else 40, 50 and beyond.
Yeah.
Will Levis right now is 4-1 to be the first overall pick.
Insane.
He was 40.
All it takes is someone living in their parents' basement to go on Reddit and say something. Like, is this the age we've come in, Robert, that odds are shifted between just some dark shadows in the metaverse? Is that what we've come down to in the betting world?
Exactly, you're right. And then of course that's going to have sweeping changes to the second overall pick in the draft. And that is now saying, okay, well, so if obviously Will's going to be the first overall pick, well then Bryce Young has to be the second overall pick. He was 50-1. He's down to 7-1 to be the second overall pick right now because this is exactly what they're saying. Well, if A is true, then B has to be true on the other side of the pie. Incredible motion in the markets right now.
It's insane. I know I keep saying that, but I can't stress it enough. I keep seeing like a Reddit user is moving now. CJ Stroud's dropping back. I heard something about Hendon Hooker moving up. Like, it's just, there's too much going on. But let's get right into the quarterbacks. We'll talk about more betting trends coming up, but we are on the subject of quarterbacks. Robert, obviously, top 5 quarterbacks that are probably going to go in the first round. You have Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker. I don't think that, let me rewind. Everyone was talking about there could be potentially 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 picks. Maybe Hendon Hooker in the top 15. I actually don't think that these quarterbacks are going to get as high of a draft choice as the market's trying to indicate right now. I think that there's something wrong with this draft class that has a lot of teams spooked. I think that you're going to be more heavy with offensive line guys and defensive players in the top 10. I would not be surprised if at least out of these 5, only 2 went in the top 10. Am I crazy about that?
Yeah, this is wild. And look, at this point, I'm just going to sit back in my chair, clasp my fingers behind my head and just rock and watch this whole thing over the next 27, 28 hours, because you're right. I mean, look, the prop that I have up that I wanted to see how everyone would deal with was total quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Forget about 15. Right. That's already great. So I'm already getting bets on over 4.5 for the first round.
I
Hendon
would take
Hooker.
the over. I would
Right.
take the over.
So look at that. You're already saying over 5 quarterbacks in the first round is madness. But this is the market and this is the league that we're in. If you don't have a quarterback, you have to draft one in round 1. This is basically what it's come down to right now in the NFL. You don't have a quarterback, go out and draft one. It didn't work out, go draft another one. It's just repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, I think that this is something where people are going to be shocked when, like, the Houston Texans pass on a quarterback, when we know Arizona's not drafting a quarterback. We might even see the Raiders pass on a quarterback. We might see Seattle pass on a quarterback. And then I think come to pick, are the Titans 11 or 12? They're one of those two.
I think 11.
Yeah, when it comes to pick 11, I think there's going to be a rush of trades for teams that were drafting in the 20s, or maybe teams that did draft in the top 10 that surrender their first picks for next year to get one of these quarterbacks. I think from picks 11 to 20, we're just going to see chaos with the quarterback market. I think that Bryce Young is still going to go number 1. I don't think Carolina is going to go any other way. And I do think that maybe one other quarterback will go in the top 10. I don't know if it's Levis. I don't know if it's Stroud. But I think you're going to see a flurry in picks 11 to 20 of just teams trading up to get Richardson, Hooker, Levis. What do you think? How do you see this playing out?
This is correct. Exactly right. So I wanted to just take a look, since we're talking about the quarterbacks right now, Ali, and I want to go ahead and put the GM hat on your head for a very quick minute. But you're absolutely right. I think that 4 for sure. I want to pull back and say I'm not too convinced at this moment that Hendon Hooker gets drafted, but and we'll probably circle back to this in just a little bit towards the end of our podcast episode today about trades in this league and what might end up happening. But the Cardinals are the wildest of wild cards in all of this, and their overall pick and what they might do when they're up on the clock with pick number 3. Ali, I want to think that. Well, all right. Let me go back to this. So I have my quarterback, and if I actually would have to say you need to go and start your whole franchise over. You need a quarterback, and here's your collection of quarterbacks that you're going to do from the draft. I have my pick. I want to hear yours first. Bryce Young included, who would it be?
Ooh, to be honest, I'd be like how the Texans' mindset's going now. I don't like any of these quarterbacks, Robert, as a long term. I think some are going to be decent starters. I think actually, I don't know why Stroud's getting all the negative publicity, maybe because his one score was pretty low on, I forget what it was. But I actually think Stroud is going to be a decent quarterback. I'm not a Levis fan. I think he's the next Mac Jones. I think Anthony Richardson's the next Jamarcus Russell.
Hey, you take that back.
I'm telling you, and I said that was bust from day one. I don't know too much about Hendon Hooker. I think that he's going to be a solid backup somewhere. Bryce Young, I don't like small quarterbacks. I just never liked the Kyler Murrays, the Russell Wilsons of the world. I'm not a small quarterback guy. I would be the Texans. I would try to build up my defense. I would try to shore my offensive line and wait for the next year's draft class to come back. Or see if Lamar Jackson's available. See if maybe you can get some more picks. I would either trade the pick or draft a defensive guy if I'm the Texans. I just don't see any of these 5 guys being a Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or even a Tua. I mean, I know Tua's been hurt, but when he's healthy, he can play the game. Or Jalen Hurts even. I don't see any of these quarterbacks being that. What's your pick?
Ali, this is excellent. This is so good. I did not expect that. I didn't expect you to say none of the above. You're choosing option 6. You don't want You don't want Hooker, Richardson. You don't want any of them.
Don't forget, then you have to invest a few years in these guys. I know your mentality is keep drafting until you get it. But if you're drafting, Will Levis, for example, you're stuck with him for a few years.
Yes.
Because you can't give up on him after a year. You can't give up on him after 2 years. Nowadays, you can't even give up on him on 3 years. What if the Giants gave up on Daniel Jones after year 3? He wouldn't have had the year that he just had and earned himself another contract. I think that you do need to be married to these guys because let's not forget, not everyone's going to come in the league like Joe Burrow did and get to the Super Bowl his second year. It takes time for these guys to develop. So I think you're pretty much handcuffed to these guys the next 3 years, 4 years. And I don't know if I want to be in that position. But what is your take?
Okay. Now look, this quarterback, yes, he has inconsistent game tape.
Oh, I know what this is.
Okay. Now, he might have limited experience, but Allie, there is no one with a higher ceiling and potential than Anthony Richardson.
I heard the same thing about Trey Lance. I heard the same thing about Jamarcus Russell, Mel Kiper Jr. So I am not buying the Anthony Richardson hype. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because of his numbers at Florida and everything. It's because I don't like guys that have just started 1 year in college. And this applies to so many other players over the years that came out of school having only 1 year starting under their belt. Sam Darnold is one of them. There's a few other guys in recent years that have been like that and just have been bust in this league, Robert. I just don't think that he has the experience yet. If you're drafting Anthony Richardson, you're basically having to develop him for the next 3-4 years. So maybe the Raiders think it's worth it. You're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo for 3 years, see what he does. But again, Robert, this is a make or break. Do you want to win now or do you want to win 3-4 years down the line? You know, so if you're a GM, say you're GM of, let's just pick a team in the top 10, the Indianapolis Colts.
Good. Okay.
Draft Anthony Richardson if, say, Stroud and Bryce Young are off the board, or do you go with the safer pick, Will Levis?
Oh, no. Definitely. Give me, I want to go and absolutely just swing the bat as hard as I humanly can. The Colts haven't been the same ever since Luck has been gone, and this franchise needs someone that's absolutely just pure electricity. To me, it's Anthony Richardson. I'm doing it. That's it. I'm dying on the hill. Give him to me. I think this guy's going to be the best player in this year's draft, period. I don't care what position.
Well, let's mark this episode, and then in 2 or 3 years down the line, let's see where we're at. But I will say, Robert, with Anthony Richardson, I don't think you can rush him. So
correct.
I don't know if Indianapolis is the greatest fit for him because right now on their depth chart, they have Gardner Minshew, and that's it. And Gardner Minshew is probably just a bridge quarterback for this season, not even next season. I don't know if he's going to be ready, Anthony Richardson, next year. I think you need a team, whether it's the Seattle Seahawks, who have just committed to Geno Smith for 3 years, or the Raiders, like I said before, that have Jimmy Garoppolo committed for 3 years. I think it needs to be a team like that where you're going to allow this kid time to develop and grow. Because we just saw what the 49ers did when they threw Trey Lance to the Wolves last year. And he had a terrible game, and then he got injured the next game. But they're already wondering if this guy's a bust. So you need to be committed. You really need to be committed to developing this guy. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Yes, I will definitely accept that.
So out of the 5, who's your biggest bust? Because I don't actually think that Anthony Richardson is going to be the biggest bust because I think that most people are still 50-50 on him. But out of these 5, who do you think is going to be the bust?
I don't trust Will Levis at all. I don't. No. I mean, look, I get it. I understand that his class, meaning, playing, for Kentucky and the teams that he's had to play against, top cornerbacks that are going to get drafted in the NFL time and time again. Yeah, he's got, physical tools to develop, but I still think he needs to learn so much more. And I don't know. I see Carson Wentz in him. I mean, I guess, is that a good, I don't know. I mean,
Carson Wentz was almost an MVP. I kind of see Will Levis like a less cocky Josh Rosen. Which is hilarious because I was so down on Josh Rosen. And I remember when he was getting whispered to maybe join the Giants that year, I was like, please not Josh Rosen, please not Josh Rosen. And then when he slid all the way down to the Cardinals and had that bitter press conference when he was saying, yeah, everyone's going to be regret not picking me. Josh Rosen, no one regrets not picking me.
No one regrets. All right, how about this one? Will Levis, you're Jay Cutler without the cigarettes.
The thing with Jay Cutler is I think he had the talent. I just don't think he ever wanted to play. Like, I think he could have been a very good quarterback, but I think it was just like, whatever. Like, he's kind of like the frat boy that had to show up to class the next day and really just wanted to go and down a 12-pack of beer at the end of the day. That was Jay Cutler to me, which props to you. But okay, Robert, let's prediction right here. Which teams draft these 5 guys? So let's look at the draft board right now. Where are you projecting Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and Hendon Hooker to go?
All right, so we give the draft order here. So Bryce Young goes 1 to Carolina. Yeah, that has to happen.
Right.
Houston. I think Houston goes with Tyree Wilson. Mm-hmm. I really do. I don't think that they go and bust things up. Now, here's where the chaos lies with the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's not going to be ready until maybe not even this coming season. So right. Are you just going to go with I don't know who's the backup? Is it Driscoll? I mean,
boy again?
Oh, no. Do they dare? I mean, and first off, Kyler Murray said, go out and get me an offensive tackle. Who did he mention? I got to take a look at this kid, the board. He mentioned Paris Johnson from Ohio State, but I don't know. I mean, I think I have Skoronski ranked a lot higher.
I was going to say, I think Skoronski's been ranked higher on most boards.
And so you're going to listen to Kyler Murray to take the number 2 offensive tackle with pick number 3. If they do this, my God, they're dumber than they know.
I wouldn't listen to Kyler Murray ever again. Like, after what he just listen, I know he got hurt, but listen, he had a terrible season before he got hurt last year. Like, the guy is just, when you have former players coming out of the woodwork and saying how Kyler just doesn't pay attention, he's too busy playing video games, like, that's bad. So I would not listen to Kyler Murray. Actually, I say, Kyler, what do you think? And then go and do the opposite.
Go the opposite. I love it. I don't know if man, so if we go number 3, it's got it. I mean, everything's pointing towards Will Anderson, but do they take it? I mean, this is kind of like a best available kind of pick at outside linebacker. The guy's incredible. You're basically getting all the pieces and you know, even I think it's like even a stronger Von Miller, to be honest. So I mean, I'd be pretty darn happy if I got that in the draft, but they just need so many pieces. Okay, anyways, so other picks. Where do these quarterbacks go, right? So we're looking for the other piece. So we got Bryce Young slotted, CJ Stroud, maybe Colts. I think that's where finally we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, God, this is where I think Will Levis slips. I do, because
I agree.
I think here. So take a look. This could be exciting. I think the Lions end up getting Anthony Richardson.
Really?
Yes, wow. That's what I
heard
like.
They were
that.
Trying to trade their pick.
That would be a fantastic pick right there for him. So then the Raiders go. I probably say, well, you know what? They probably don't even have to draft down if Tennessee really wants to do it. I mean, look, Tannehill's he's on the last year. He's got to be, if he even makes it through. I don't think that Will Levis escapes pick number 11. I think he goes to Tennessee.
Their guy? Are they going to go for Hooker and just overdraft him? Or maybe they trade back and let someone else take Richardson or Levis and you know, get Hooker in like the 20s.
Hendon Hooker can't drop past. I think if Hendon Hooker's there at 19 for Tampa, I think Tampa takes him.
That would be a good pick for Tampa because, I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to last the whole year as a starter. So at least with Hooker, you see if he has anything like toward midseason, and you're not a Super Bowl team. I'll agree with you. I think that Bryce Young is definitely a Panther. I don't think there's anything about that. I think the Houston Texans, as much as they want to trade that pick, I think they're going to stay put and they're going to either draft Carter or Anderson. I think it's going to be one of those guys. And I think that's a smart move for Houston. I think that let them wait, let them get another year, let them shore up the defense. They just signed DeMeco Ryan from the 49ers. So he's a defensive guy. Get your defense the best it can and then go out and get a quarterback. Robert, what about this though? What if you're the Texans, do you make a last minute plea to the Baltimore Ravens, give them the number 2 pick this year, give them your number 1 pick next year, and get Lamar Jackson?
Yes, I will do it. So first off, that's brilliant bookmaking right there. And I don't know if Baltimore bites though. My God.
I don't think they will, but I think that would be like the perfect trade for both teams.
And then Baltimore says, all right, so what do we do here with this pick? Do they take Wilson or Will Anderson? And then Baltimore's got to be sick. I mean, the fans have to be like, the hell is happening with this franchise? This is so good. I can't believe we're literally like 24 hours out from the draft and I'm already all giddy. That makes sense. I don't know. I mean, Houston just needs so many pieces. Do they have the patience? Are they like, really? We're not going to have a quarterback here. We're really going to do the Davis Mills experiment one more time. We got to go do this again. They're going to have a top 3 pick again if they don't draft a quarterback.
Well, that's really kind of their point, right? Wait till next year. Get the best defensive guy you can this year. And then next year, go get your quarterback if you think next year's class is going to be better. I think that in the top 10, I think the Panthers get Young. I think the Colts at number 4, they settle. I don't believe they believe the Will Levis hype or the Richardson hype. I think that they're going to be safe, especially since they struck out with their last 2 quarterbacks and go with Stroud because he was kind of the number 1 for a while.
Right.
And then Young came back. I don't think the Seattle, Detroit, or the Raiders are going to draft a quarterback. I just don't. I think McDaniel's fine with Garoppolo. I don't think he's going to waste a top 10 pick on a quarterback this year and not have him start for the next 3 years. Falcons, they believe what they got in Ritter. Bears obviously believe what they got in Justin Fields, though I don't think it would be a bad option to draft a quarterback if I'm the Bears. Eagles, obviously, there were Hurts. Titans at number 11, I think that's where you're going to see, if the Texans don't trade the pick, that's the first trade I'm going to see. I think someone's going to trade up with the Titans, and I'm looking at maybe the Washington Commanders that are going to trade up and get whether I think the Commanders get Anthony Richardson. I think that he's a kind of guy like a Cam Newton that Ron Rivera knows how to coach. I think that if Anthony Richardson makes it through 10 picks, I think Commanders trade up and get Richardson. What do you think about that?
That is an excellent move, right? Because at 16, you're just kind of wallowing there and really not going to be helping yourself with anything out there. I mean, sure, do you go ahead and crack the bottles on the wide receiver, and end up picking up it's a kid from Ohio State, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's easily the number 1 wide receiver by far. But do they need a wide receiver if they don't have a quarterback to throw to him? That's the problem with, kind of finishing there in the middle. You didn't make the playoffs and you don't really have a good pick. So yeah, you're absolutely right. This is, if you're going to do it, go ahead and draft up here, switch picks with Tennessee and, see what's left right there. Anthony Richardson. Hey, look, I love him. I think he should be, he's my number 1 quarterback. So we know my opinion on him. And if they end up with him, you guys made a great trade.
I think that's what happens. So then you have Levis left and you have Hendon Hooker. I think now Houston has another pick at number 12. I think they pick up Levis right there. Because if Levis drops to pick number 12, that's a win-win for them. They got their defensive guy. They go with the safer quarterback option, if you want to say, at number 12. And then it's not Levis. If he's picked number 2 and is a bust for you, that's a historic bust. But if you pick him at number 12, let him compete for the job with Davis Mills, that's not so much a bust. He's not going to be remembered as your number 1 pick overall. I know people are thinking when we drafted Daniel Jones number 6 and we could have waited till later. But this is a kind of an inverse. So I think then the Texans at number 12 would take Levis, and then leaving Hooker will go to number 16 at the Titans would draft him at number 16. That's my prediction for those 5 quarterbacks, and they're all taken in the first round.
This is fabulous, actually. So Houston does have a window at some really amazing fireworks. They could grab a big A+ here if they can get Levis to drop to them at the 12. That would be really fantastic for him. So then, Allie, what do you think is best for them, for Houston here at number 2? Would you prefer having Tyree Wilson, right? Who's, for all intents and purposes, I mean, there's one concern that I saw was about his foot not healing because he broke his foot, I guess, but he's just such a powerful pass rusher on the edge, 6'6", 270. Or do you want to get, like I said, I think it's going to be like the next Von Miller in Will Anderson. I suppose, apples, oranges, it's all kind of the same. I guess it depends on what kind of a scheme you want to run. How would you break that down for the number 2 pick?
I'd probably go with Anderson. I think having a good defensive line. Listen, Alabama's known for having very good defensive players.
Yep.
I would definitely go with Anderson. I think that you get some edge rush help right there. I think he's definitely safer than Wilson because, like you said, of the injury. So I would go 100% with Will Anderson at number 2. How about you?
All right. I agree with you as well. And I completely agree. Coming from Alabama, I definitely think that he'll have an incredible career no matter where he goes. And I think he'd be a perfect fit with Houston.
Yeah. What about the next guys? Because now let's talk a little bit about defensive guys. What do you think about, after Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, and cornerback Devin Witherspoon? Those seem to be the consensus top defensive guys for the top 10. After Anderson, where are you ranking the next guys?
So, yeah, Wilson definitely is my number 1. Lucas Van Ness, probably out of Iowa from defense, on the defensive end side, will probably be next, but he's like a whole nother tier after that. So, I mean, the one guy that I think I'm probably most excited about to have a fantastic career, right, first game, instant impact, I think is going to be Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to go number 5 to Seattle.
I agree.
It's what fits, and I think he's going to be an incredible addition to that defense. I think they're going to do really, really good things with him there right from the very, very first opening snap. Rarely does he get, if you got him, if you're going to think you're going to take him one-on-one, rarely is he going to get beat. And I just think that he's got some really incredible speed, and he's going to have a really fantastic career. Of course, all things being equal, as long as he's healthy. So Jalen Carter, definitely have him ranked very, very high. Probably have to go to, we talked about Will Anderson for a bit. Nolan Smith, another one, Carter's teammate, outside linebacker. He's probably going to get drafted somewhere in the teens then, Allie. And then from the outside, and actually here's, the cornerbacks is where our New York Giants are probably going to have to start addressing some needs. I'm hoping that we could touch on that before we wrap up our episode, what you think the Giants are going to do. So I've got Witherspoon, and Witherspoon, of course, from Illinois. Him and Christian Gonzalez, I haven't been able to split them yet. I honestly think if you need a cornerback, if you need a cornerback, either one of them are going to be excellent selections. Both of them super physical, super tenacious. One probably, a better fit and far more versatile, to put in over the slot just with his speed, Christian Gonzalez. But both of them are going to be fantastic cornerbacks. After that, because I don't believe that they're going to be around when the Giants pick in the late 20s. Probably Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. And then the last one, and this one I think would be, if he's not around, then something went wrong with his draft. Joey Porter Jr. Out of Penn State. So those are the cornerbacks. And then honestly, if I'm looking the safeties would probably be behind all the cornerbacks. So that's kind of what I look at from a defensive perspective, Ali. Which one of those jump out to you, or maybe it's none of the above?
I think Witherspoon out of the cornerback. I actually think he's going to go to the Lions. I think that the Lions have done a very good job upgrading their defense. They did a good job with the safety position, signing C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles. They have Cam Sutton as their one starting cornerback. They need another. I could see them taking that number 6 pick. I could see them taking Witherspoon or one of the other guys. For the Giants, listen, I love a wide receiver. We're not going to get Smith-Njigba, who I think is beyond the best receiver in this draft.
So good.
My next 2 picks after that, I have no problem with drafting either Jordan Addison out of USC or Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I just don't think either are going to be available, Robert. I'm just looking at the draft right now. I think I can see the Jets at number 15 getting Aaron Rodgers, another wide receiver to have. I know that they might go offensive line, but I also think that they might go to wide receiver. I think the Detroit Lions, they have another pick at number 18. They might go wide receiver as well. They just lost Jameson Williams for the first, 6 games for his suspension for sports betting.
Yes.
And really after that, you don't have too much guys. They traded TJ Hawkinson last year. You need someone to go alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown because you already have a stellar offense. Let's not ruin it. So I definitely think that the Lions are going to get a wide receiver with one of their picks. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars do too at number 24. I think that they're going to want to upgrade.
No.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I think we're going to be cornerback. I really think we're going to go cornerback. And I'm totally fine with that. I'm fine with cornerback. I'm fine with safety. I think that we did a great job in the offseason signing Bobby Okereke from the Colts for our linebacking core. But I think that still our secondary is weak. I think it's been too injury prone over the years. So I would not be upset if we get one of those cornerbacks.
I know we're not How many times have I done this?
It's fine. We can admit it. The listeners know.
Okay. There's no way the Giants are going to end up with Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez.
No.
But if somehow they do, I'd be incredibly thrilled.
Oh, yeah.
If somehow we end up getting like Forbes or Joey Porter Jr., I think that we've settled at cornerback. Now, I think that the Giants need cornerback or wide receiver addressed in the first round.
Yes.
Whichever. Okay, good. So we're there. I know we're not getting Witherspoon. I highly doubt we're getting Gonzalez. I think that we're settling if we end up with Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State or Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. So, man,
there's Deontay Banks too, which I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and so I'm saying if it's a heavy run on cornerbacks, and that means wide receiver has to be available somewhere. We're not getting Smith-Njigba. That's no way we're getting him.
No.
Jordan Addison? Could we get Jordan Addison perhaps?
I mean, I would if Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison are available, I'd take either of those guys. I just don't think that they are. I think that the top 3 guys, I think that Addison and Zay Flowers.
No, I'm gonna be.
I don't want them to. But if I had the
Exactly.
choice, if one of those 3 guys were still available between, we know Smith-Njigba, however you pronounce his last name, is not going to be available. But if Flowers or Addison are available when we draft, that I'd take either of those guys before a cornerback. I really would. I really would.
Okay, I actually have Addison ranked second personally, and I think he'd be an incredible ad for the New York Giants. He'd be an incredible ad anywhere, right? He's just an amazing athlete. But I'd love to have him play, for Big Blue, and then Zay Flowers as well. I mean, he's even closer to home, but I honestly don't even know if they're going to be available. And you just painted a picture that makes me so depressed. Oh no, we're going to end up settling somewhere. No, at that point, you know what? I just figured it out. If we can't get Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison or any of either Witherspoon, my God, am I dreaming? Witherspoon or Gonzalez, I want to draft out of the first round.
I agree with that. That's fine. I'm
Okay,
totally
good.
up for
All
that.
right, do you want to make the call or should I call the general manager?
You can call Joe Schoen. Let me know what he says.
Okay, very good.
All right, let's go to finally. We have a few more minutes left in the episode, but obviously, with all the trades that do happen, it's not just picks to get swapped. It's
Right.
players as well, current players. Robert, are any of these guys going to get traded on draft day between Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill, Austin Eckler, or DeAndre Hopkins?
Okay. Trey Lance, no. Lamar Jackson, no. Ryan Tannehill. What if
Does anyone want him?
no? So that's the thing. I actually just made a note. I said, what if he just gets cut? I mean, he could just get cut. You know, because I'm so convinced that Tennessee is going to make another move at a quarterback in the first round that's I can't really see any other vision other than that where they end up drafting a pick here. Rather not drafting it, keeping the pick and drafting a quarterback here. I just really think Tannehill's just really going to have to wrap it up here. If he plays one more season, then that's going to be it. But I honestly think he's going to be on the roster as a backup to whoever the quarterback's going to be that's drafted in the first round. So that's that. Eckler. Yes. I think Eckler gets traded. And we haven't talked about basically the next Saquon Barkley, Allie. And without a doubt, yes, Bijan Robinson out of Texas. This guy is incredible. I mean, all things considered, he's probably one of the greatest talents to come into this year's draft. But who in this day and age drafts a running back, right? And so here we are. The question, I guess we could go ahead and make this prop right now. Total number of quarterbacks drafted in the first round, 1.5. Which way are you going?
Robert, do you take, if you're the Giants, do you take Robinson and let Saquon go?
Oh my God, please. Why'd you do that to me? It could happen. It could happen.
You know what? I don't know if they get a long-term extension done. And frankly, I don't know if I want to do a long-term extension with Saquon because I don't know his durability. And we've seen these long-term contracts with these running backs just think of Todd Gurley. Just
yes,
guys just collapse. You know, you look at what was, LaShawn McCoy a few years ago. You look at Murray a few years ago. It's just, I would not give Saquon a long-term contract. I wouldn't.
Okay. All right. So this is great. We have to do it. Now we have to do it. If the Giants take Bijan Robinson in the first round, are you happy?
I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed. It's another playmaker. You have the ability, you give Daniel Jones another threat. And I think it opens up to trade Saquon Barkley. I do. I think then you can expand him. And I think a team with that franchise tag, $10 million a year, right. I think that a team will bite and will trade for him. I do.
This is great. This is great. All right. And then the last one you mentioned, D-Hop. Yep. Again, Cardinals. If this episode is called Chaos AD, then it's all about the Arizona Cardinals.
We definitely called this last year, by the way. We said it was going to be a dumpster fire in Arizona.
Yes.
And both of our prognostications did come true. So
look, everything is on the table right now for the Cardinals. Everything from, drafting a quarterback, taking the wrong offensive tackle with a pick number 3, cutting Hopkins. I don't think there's anyone that would want to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's an incredible talent, but man, he's just going to waste this season if he's on the Cardinals this year, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. I somehow think that D-Hop does get traded, and I think that there's something brewing in Buffalo that's going to make that happen.
Huge. Huge. I like it. I like it. I definitely think that makes sense. I also think so now, okay, if I have to have a place for him to land, could it be something insane where the Raiders, brew up something and maybe not give up pick number 7? That would be, if they give up pick number 7 for DeAndre Hopkins, I may not make it out of bed the next day. But I think that they could definitely put together a package, maybe some collection of third, or maybe third and then a future 2. I depending on what he does in the following year. But I could see Hopkins maybe getting traded, now that you put it that way. Maybe even to the Saints. Bills is a great landing spot.
Well, we know the Packers just got a ton of draft picks. Do they go after
Yes, they
If
could.
I'm Aaron Rodgers and I see the Green Bay Packers acquire DeAndre Hopkins after they traded me to the Jets, I think I just dropped my beer.
Too much. All of this just massive. I am just abound with just massive, complete and total reckless speculation right now. But what else could we do? We're a day before the draft.
Hey, if you think I do think that the Detroit Lions are going to win their division this year. If you're the Detroit Lions, Robert, you have 2 picks in the top 20. Do you trade one of those for D-Hop? And then you have Amon-Ra and DeAndre Hopkins as your top 2.
Just
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would
Jameson Williams come back after 6 games. I mean, talk about offensive weapons.
Stacked.
Tell Dan Campbell to call his GM. Get that done. Oh boy. All right. Well, before we do wrap up, we have to address the elephant in the room, and that's Aaron Rodgers is finally a Jet, which I actually never thought was going to end up happening, and it was close. They waited till Monday for it to happen. Robert, just as of now, before the draft, where do you see the Jets finishing in their division?
Thank you.
Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you. Right. So and let's forget about the AFC for a second. Let's just talk about their division. Right. So the Patriots aren't going to win the division, right? That's number 1. Miami is not going to win the division. So now it comes to Buffalo and New York. I thought that last year the Jets put it significantly, several steps forward, and we week after week said, wow, look at this, New York and New York. It's week 4, week 5, week 7, it's still New York and New York. And then just the wheels came off of the Jets because, well, they're
the Jets. That's what happened.
Just the Jets. The Jets. It was just horrific quarterback play, and then it all unraveled. But now it's Aaron Rodgers, and they have 0 excuses.
Yeah.
They get the wild card for sure. They get the wild card. They make it in as a wild card at a minimum. I think that they have a coin flips chance at winning the division even. Now, of course, this is assuming that, always go on the assumption of good health everywhere.
Right.
And we have a healthy Josh Allen. We have a healthy Aaron Rodgers for the entire regular season. I think that, I'm actually even tightening it up even more. I honestly think that it might come down to the games that they play against each other, not only in the division, but against each other, to come down to a tiebreaker at the very, very end of the last, in December as to who wins this division. So I do think that the Jets have a fair shot at winning this division, Alec.
So when I look at the Jets last year, they were 7-10. I looked at their wins. Not many of their wins were impressive. They beat the Browns in week 2 in that ridiculous comeback at the end. Don't forget the Browns still had Jacoby Brissett. They didn't have Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Then they beat the Steelers in week 4. Let's not forget that game. And that is when still Mitch Trubisky was quarterbacking for the Steelers.
That's right.
Then they clobbered the Dolphins, which not only was Tua out that game, Brissett was out that game. So they were going with their third string rookie, who I can't even remember the name off the top of my head,
no,
to start that game. And then you go and you actually beat Aaron Rodgers in the Packers, which is pretty funny.
That was insane.
And then you beat one of the worst disappointing teams last year, the Denver Broncos, who you basically just have to score a touchdown against and you win.
Yeah.
Their best and only win last year, Robert, I would say, was against the Bills, where they beat them, that weird 20-17 game where a bunch of things just went crazy in that game. They started it late. There was like a delay because I think the power went out. There was just a ton of things going on in that game. And then your final win of the season before you lost, I think 6 or 7 straight, was against the Bears. And Justin Fields didn't even play in that game.
No.
It was a backup. So I don't agree with the notion that the Jets were only a quarterback away from being a legit wild card team. I see a lot of these wins as lucky and fluky. It's kind of like what I said with the Minnesota Vikings last year. They just seem to have gotten lucky at the right place. Jets were 7-10 last year. Let's just put the record. Robert, I think they're a game better maybe this year. I think they're 8-9. I think they finished 3rd in that division. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that much better on the Jets. You still have Allen Lazard. You have Garrett Wilson, who, yes, maybe he's a little bit better than your 2 rookies, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson you had last year. But who knows? Christian Watson came on very well at the end. Otherwise, I don't see it in the tight end play. I don't see it in the running game. You still got Breece Hall coming back from injury. We don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season. I see this team as 8-9, misses the playoffs. Am I crazy or what?
Yet another reason to put the largest bookmark you could find into this episode.
When we go into when we do the division previews and we do the over under, just know that yes, I am going to be hard on the under for the Jets win totals this year, and people are going to be pounding it just like they did with Russell Wilson last year. Let's not forget, right. Everyone was, and I fell into that trap. I was against the Denver Broncos at first. Then I fell into the trap saying that they were a legit Super Bowl contender, and they were atrocious. So let's not forget who quarterbacked that atrocious Denver Broncos team, Nathaniel Hackett, who's the offensive coordinator right now of the New York Jets. Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes, it is.
There's another dumpster fire coming, and I cannot wait to watch it. Because I'm a New York Giants fan, and besides the Cowboys losing and the Eagles losing, we love watching that little brother just get lost in their own mistakes. Boom. I'm going to replay this episode after the season's end last year, whether I'm right or wrong, because I want the audience to hear it. So I'm going to stand by my word. What's your prediction? What's your final prediction of the record?
I can't even do this. How can I? The mic just dropped. This is the episode of the year. I'm not even kidding you, everybody.
Before everyone comes out and says, "Oh yeah, Jets going to the Super Bowl," it's like, no. Let's rewind the tape. Did we not just watch the same thing happen with Russell Wilson in Denver? And didn't Denver also think they were 1 quarterback away? They were 7-10. Robert, they had the same exact record the year before Nathaniel Hackett came there with Russell Wilson, and they were totally garbage after that. So they had a top 5 defense the year before Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson came there. The Jets are this year's Denver Broncos. So even though I said 8-9, they might even be worse than that. I'm just being generous to them.
I can't even see. I literally have the power of the sun's rays. I am literally melted into nothing. I am dust right now.
Oh, I do need to get you on record though. What's your
okay? Fine, right. The team. Okay, give me 9 wins. Nine for the Jets.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you, everyone, for joining the spicy episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I hope everyone enjoys the draft tomorrow. I know I will be watching the first round and watching chaos ensue. Robert, before we go, any last thoughts or words for the audience?
Yeah, definitely wear the sunscreen for tomorrow. It's going to be incredible.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and take care.